Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Thursday, the 25th of March, comes to you from London. And I'm just looking at the vaccination rates this morning, so we'll take a look at that at the end. First of all, just looking at markets, a bit of a mixed picture, mostly red on the screen. So we're seeing the dollar index actually looking stronger. Remembering this is my weekly, daily, and 60-minute chart, long-term, medium-term, and short-term view of the market. Dollar recovery continues. The long-term recovery underway. We're seeing this Dow theory being borne out of the higher highs and the higher lows. Significant, and we've just activated an upside target some 5% higher. So strong dollar is the theme. That means that the euro is weaker, sitting at that 118 level, below the cloud on the daily and on the 60-minute, of course. And we are breaking support quite clearly here now on that weekly chart, but it'll be a long time before it's through the cloud there for the long-term chart. Sitting at 109 on the Japanese yen, the dollar, this is very much a lead indicator for the dollar, so we are seeing that dollar strength showing there. Sterling actually looking a little bit better this morning, but still bearish on the short-term chart. Dollar strength is really the key now. And if we take a look at sterling against the euro, just hovering around that 116 level, we have had just a little bit of bearishness this week, but sterling's still looking strong on those medium and long-term charts. Bitcoin sitting at $52,000, so we have come back. We are short-term bearish there, so that's just looking a little bit bearish on the short-term chart. The long-term targets are still in place, but we do have some downside targets now, some 9 to 11%, let's say 10% lower for the major cryptocurrency. Looking at the S&P 500 index, we did see a turn down there last night, down 0.5%, so just looking weaker again. And of course, tech stocks just still struggling to break that high that we saw in February, and just starting to look like they're coming back for another go at the cloud support, and short term we have fallen through. So not looking so good for tech at the moment. The futures, the S&P future is down just under 0.25%, and the Nasdaq E-mini is up just over 0.25%. So a mixed picture for markets at the open today. The VIX volatility sitting steady at around 21. So the fear index is not very fearful at the moment, despite the fact we are seeing a turn down in some of the main indices. The FTSE 100 index down slightly this morning, just struggling to break higher. The DAX in Germany, the cash market down just under 0.2%, but still holding its new highs that we've seen this year, so looking strong there. The CAC Quarante down 0.25%. Of course, lockdowns coming into force in Europe is having a bit of an impact on the markets. Japan was actually up 1.4%. That weaker yen helping Japanese stocks. And if we look at the Hang Seng, fairly flat there. China was flat. The Sensex in India was down a further 1%. The virus taking hold now in India again. We're getting a third wave there, so starting to just make that market a bit fearful. And the Aussie market fairly unchanged. Gold sitting at 1731, so fairly flat the last few days. Still that medium-term bearishness there. We do have an upside target to 1860, but downside target potential. So that's quite key. The downside target not quite reached here, looking like we found support in the long term. So I think we probably still have found that floor on gold. And looking at silver, not such a good week for silver, short-term bearish, and now that medium-term chart, which had held on to bullish, is now looking a bit precarious as well. US 10-year yield sitting at 1.62%, so that's quite key. And if we look at the 30-year yield, we are holding that trend there as well. So the 10-year yield still trending up, but just short term we're looking a little bit bearish. But bond yields are the thing to watch, and don't be surprised to see another surge. The energy mix, crude oil, a lot about this tanker and Suez, saw the price rise yesterday, but we are still short-term bearish, and we now have an interesting picture where we either go up or down, so that will be one to watch. And interestingly, the target to into the 80s has been taken off the chart, so that is significant. Looking at US nat gas, we're sitting at 252, no big changes there. Coal is flat at the moment, and if we look at emissions, that is falling back to 41, and German power also just falling back in a range at the moment. 55, 57, 25 is the new range for German power. That's what we've got to watch for the breakout. Looking at these COVID stats now for Europe, cases in Germany kicking up again. That's not good news for Germany. We've seen 16% rise in the numbers yesterday, so cases really starting to take off. France, a little bit more steady. Bulgaria, we're sitting at 521 cases per million. Germany now at 191. You compare that to the UK at 81 cases. Fairly static in the UK at the moment. Hungary rocketing 900 cases per million there, and we're seeing similarly in Poland. So that's really significant to some of these charts. But the US and the UK, their charts still managing to fall or flatten. Looking at the vaccination rates now, we see Germany sitting at 13%. France, we're starting to see an acceleration there, 13%. We're only at 5% vaccination in Bulgaria, which is a worry. Big kick up in Holland. And of course, the UK now sitting at 45%, the US at 38%, just showing how the UK and the US have got their vaccination programs way ahead of the EU. So just interesting to keep looking at these stats and what they mean for markets, but probably most worrying of all is that rise in German cases. That's the chart that we're going to be watching quite a lot. And of course, you can get all this data into your Updata, no problem. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.